What's good, football fans? My name is Chris Battistel, and you can find me at FFChrisB on Twitter. Welcome to the Fantasy and Frames 2023 Prospect Profile Series. Today, I'm going to be talking about wide receiver Kayshon Boutte. But before I do that, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and smash that bell to get notified whenever Fantasy and Frames drops any new content. Kayshon Boutte is 20 years old, wide receiver out of LSU. He's entering the draft as a junior, which is the sweet spot. He's an underclassman for wide receivers entering the NFL. He's got a breakout age of 18.3, which is the 98th percentile. And breakout age is important when scouting significant NFL prospects because the younger the breakout age, the more likely the player is to be successful, not only in the NFL, but ultimately your fantasy football rosters. Boutte, with his 18.3 breakout age, is beating defenders that may be 2 to 3 years older than him. Comparing to other fantasy favorite wide receivers in the league, he stacks up pretty well. Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, T. Higgins, Marquise Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Cooper Kupp, some big names, all have a breakout age that is higher than Kayshon's. His dominator rating is 34.7%, which is near elite college dominator rating. And what that is players' total yardage production and teams' total yardage production. So what that number is telling me is that Kayshon Boutte was a big part of LSU's offense when he was on the field. Getting into his college stats, 27 games played, 131 receptions for 1,782 yards and 16 TDs. That gives him averages of 4.85 receptions, 66 yards, 1.6 touchdowns per game, 13.59 yards per reception. And he's averaged about 18.1, 0.5 PPR fantasy points per game. That is elite production. That is a stud wide receiver one. And a big part of that was his sophomore season, where he scored 9 touchdowns in 6 games, where he was leading FBS. Unfortunately, he did suffer an ankle injury, which took him out of his sophomore season, leading into some of his junior season. But in that sophomore season, he had a 10.4 average depth of target. So he had a 10.4 ADOT, and he had 51.7% yard after the catch reception percentage, which is elite production. So that's telling me every catch he's making, half of the yardage that he's putting up is coming from his ability to move the ball after the catch. So they used him a lot in the slot in that season, 47.4% compared to his freshman season where he lined up in the slot only 6% of the time. He lined up out wide 52%. And he had his lowest drop rate percentage at 7.5%. So that sophomore season is what really put him at that low breakout age. We saw him do it in big games. We've seen him beat DBs in top programs, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Auburn, all these big programs with all these top defenders coming out of them. Kayshon Boutte was beating these guys. Let's dive in to some of his strengths. He has all the ability to stretch the field, as we just talked about, and create space in the open field. He can sink his hips to mislead defenders, but that's something that he needs to polish in his game to consistently beat top NFL talent. He can line up at every position on the field and has a great first step off the line. He had his best season, as we already said, his sophomore season, where he lined up on both outside and in the slot fairly equally, evidenced by his yardage totals, TDs, and low drop percentage. His route running is clean. It's crisp. He sets up defenders to extend the catch after reception, specifically in his 2021 season prior to that devastating ankle injury. His contested catch rate this past season was the highest it had ever been in his collegiate career, with a 45.5 percentage. His overall reception percentage did decrease during his junior year from his sophomore season, but that drop in efficiency is most likely a product of his increase in target volume due to playing a whole season, not something to be really worried about. Now, diving into some of the weaknesses in Kayshon Boutte's game, that injury that I brought up earlier, that ankle injury, it led to two procedures. One was the surgery to the ankle, and the other one was a cleanup procedure. He didn't have the same pop after returning from the injury, evidenced by his decreasing yak percentage from his sophomore year. So that's just him trying to build some trust into his ankle. You see it all the time with wide receivers and running backs coming back from ACL. They don't have that same pop or ankle injuries when they're bending out of the break or they're making cuts. They got to know that what they had surgically repaired is going to hold up when they make the moves that they used to make. We also saw a big increase coming back from injury in his drop percentage, which could stem from him looking the ball in when thrown to him. He's letting his chest make the catch versus him going up and using his hands to make the catch while in traffic in the middle of the field, which is something that I noticed. If you're watching game film of Kayshon Boutte and he's going up to make those contested catches, his hands are down here when they really should be up high, and he should be making those catches pretty easily. So that concludes to more drops for him with the ball bouncing off his body. The production drop-off could also stem from inconsistent play and inaccuracy from the rotating cast of quarterbacks. He had Miles Brennan in there, Walker Howard, Max Johnson, and this past season, Jaden Daniels, a long way from Joe Burrow. We'll get into his 2022 comeback, that junior season. Down the stretch of his junior year, you started to see Boutte get back into rhythm and trust his body to make the plays like he did in his sophomore season, especially in the SEC championship game versus Georgia, where he posted 107 yards receiving for 1 TD, and that 1 TD was a 50-yard touchdown reception, 40 of those yards coming after the catch. So that's strengths and weaknesses of Kayshon Boutte's game. So we're going to break down a summary, just give you a little bit of a closing arguments as to why you should be drafting Kayshon Boutte. His athleticism and playmaking ability are sure to make him a popular name amongst dynasty managers leading up to the NFL draft. He has a unique combination of size, speed, and agility that makes him a versatile weapon all over the field when healthy. We won't know for sure where his ADP is going until more data is collected come springtime. However, if he were falling to you in the late to mid-second round, you better snatch him up, as his playmaking upside is undeniable. I don't mind taking him before in these rookie drafts. If you're in a super flex league, taking him before the tier 3 running backs like Zach Evans or someone like Israel Abanikanda. You got other guys that people that would be drafting that I'm okay taking Boutte as the maybe wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, depending where he goes. But that's it for Kayshon Boutte. I'm Chris Battistel. You can find me at FFChrisB on Twitter. And that was the Fantasy in Frames 2023 Rookie Prospect Profile on Kayshon Boutte.